you very much. Very good talk to follow on from. So I've got a lot to impress now. So thank you, Marcus. I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm going to do a bit of an employability session now, looking at leadership from an employability point of view. So yeah, my name is Holly O'Rourke. I am a graduate employability consultant here at Staffordshire University, and I'm very happy to be presenting to you today. So thank you very much. So some objectives we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to look at what can be done to promote diversity and inclusion. We're also going to be looking at what the barriers are in leadership for ethnic minorities. And then thirdly, we're going to be looking at how we can promote leadership for ethnic minorities in the community. So first of all, what can be done to promote diversity and inclusion? So I've got a list here of a few things that we can look to promote diversity and inclusion. So the first point on there is to make it a continuous process. So as you know, followed on from that fantastic talk, it's always going to be something that's going to change. Day in, day out, every year by year, things do change and we have to go with the changes. So it's really important that we do make, from an employability point of view, from that leadership side of things, that we are always continuing, developing, making ourselves better people, developing ourselves with training, etc. But also making sure that, you know, we are running with the times. It's very important. I think it's important to hire leaders who understand the importance of these values. I think it's great if you're able to have a range of diverse leaders within the workplace, having people who are higher up than you, but also working alongside people who do see the values and how important it is to have those differences, to have those different opinions, and to support one another with different views. I think it's very important to keep an open mind within the workplace. So yeah, I think supporting one another again, listening to one another. You can't build yourself up and you can't build your team up without having an open mind and being open to people's different perspectives, different experiences, and from different backgrounds. You will be bringing in new and exciting and potentially very changing experiences as well. I think it's very important to help employees feel comfortable with expressing themselves, whether that be outside of work, inside of work. It's very important to hear different people's values as well as their opinions, and understand that different people may feel very differently about things within the workplace. So it's very important to keep that open mind again, but also to make sure that people feel that they are comfortable to express themselves and to be, you know, free of speech, to be able to say what they feel, say what they think, and that gets the best out of people. And as a leader, leading people within an employability setting, I think it's extremely important to get the best out of your staff. So it's something to always think about when in a leadership position. Invite diversity of discussion. So again, I think it's really good to open, have actual talking opportunities like today here. This is a great example of where people are able to come together and discuss factors, discuss things that, may be a barrier to somebody, or maybe something, to teach people to do better within their workplace. Whether that be to do better for yourself, or whether that be to do better for other people, to ensure that they can succeed as well within the workplace. I think it's very important to have that opportunity within the workplace, within industry, to be able to discuss diversity. Have a safe space for people's beliefs. So again, this is quite similar to allowing people to express themselves, but in a different manner as well. I mean, Staffordshire University is a great example. We actually have different areas within the university where people can carry out prayer, for example. So I think it's really important that we support all of people's beliefs. We support the manner in which that they may need to pop out, they may need to pray, for example, throughout the day. And I think supporting people and allowing them to have that safe space where they're comfortable to do that, again, will get the best out of your employees, but will also just allow them to feel that they are a valuable member of the team, a valuable member of the company, and know that their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs are completely supported within the workplace. I think it's very important to think about, as an employer or as a manager, thinking about flexible mandatory holidays. Obviously, within the UK, we have things like Christmas, which are mandatory holidays, Easter's coming up, but there's plenty of other holidays that people celebrate and that people support, which should absolutely be supported more moving forward. As I've mentioned, it's always a continuous process. So thinking about how we can push that and celebrate those things more within the workplace and make it more normalized, I think is a very, very important element to be thinking about moving forward within industries. And holding regular culture days, again, this just helps to increase people's understanding of people's different cultures, opens their eyes, allows them to understand how different people celebrate things, different people's views, different people's beliefs, and expands people's mindsets, which I think is very important and half of the battle sometimes. When getting people to support one another, I think it helps when people have a better understanding. So, what are the barriers in leadership for ethnic minorities? So I did a little bit of research prior to this talk, and I found some information on Advanced HE, where they actually carried out a study with different members of staff at different levels who are working towards leadership from ethnic backgrounds. And some of the feedback that they gave, these are the top sort of elements of barriers which staff members found were a barrier. So here you can see they mention that they can feel that their leadership ability is questioned. They mention assumptions are often made when they're in junior positions, even when they occupy senior. So for example, professional roles there. They've reported negative assumptions being made about their abilities, reported experiences of invisibility, isolation, marginalisation, and racial discrimination in HE settings. They've reported experiencing heavy workloads, disappropriate levels of scrutiny compared to their white counterparts. And they've also mentioned there about a lack of mentoring and support for career development and difficulties in gaining promotion, which I will expand on in a little bit. So here are a few points to think about in terms of how we can address these issues. So training and accountability is really, really important. As a line manager or as a manager, they should be receiving specific training to ensure that everything is equitable, everything is fair, and that people are being treated fairly and being given fair opportunities. Department leads, as it says here, should be held accountable for inclusivity of their department and ensuring that issues are outlined and addressed. And just to add to that as well, I feel that if this isn't something that's happening within your workplace, whether you be a manager yourself or whether you be the person who is being managed and is working, on perhaps you've got a PDR coming up, I think it's really important to be able to sit down with your manager and be able to expand on that and highlight, if you do feel that you would benefit from more training yourself. I think that's really important to highlight. Could even be to HR. I think it's important that managers are being trained and that they do have good understanding of how to be equitable, how to support people, and how to ensure that they're being fair with everybody, and that everybody is getting that fair chance to exceed and grow and move forward within their roles. It says here as well, good quality data collection. So it's really important that we collect this data. If we don't have data to support the lack of training, for example, or the lack of support, then there isn't really much to evidence that is or isn't happening. However, if we collect data, then this is something that's solidified and something that can prove that more support needs to be brought in. It shows more transparency, as it mentions there. So it's really important that within the workplace that data is collected, whether that be feedback, that could be feedback that's scaleized. So it could be, how satisfied are you with XYZ from 1 to 10, or it could be more of a quantifiable measure. So it could be questions that ask about, how people's experiences are. I would always recommend that those be not disclosed who that person is. I think it's very important to ensure that you are getting that real transparent feedback and ensure that people are protected when providing that information. But I do believe that it is information that is absolutely key within employment to help support and bring in things that need to be brought in. Review of policies and practices to identify different outcomes. So as I mentioned before, things are always moving, things are always changing, things are always developing. So I think it's really important that policies and practices are reviewed. This could even be, potentially on a yearly basis. Again, it could be working from feedback. So if feedback has said that there's particular policies or practices, you could even put out some questionnaire around what people's thoughts are around policies and practices. Do they feel that that represents different backgrounds correctly? Do they feel that that's working with specific issues? Is that supporting people the best that it can do? Or do they feel that there's certain areas within the policies and practices that can be developed and can be changed? So feedback, again, is a really important element within these reviews. It shouldn't just be one group of people who are reviewing these and making an opinion. It should be a group of people from different levels and different experiences to ensure that people are able to develop and move forward again, and that they're happy within the workplace to grow and expand. I think it's very important for retention as well. If you're not supporting your staff, even as a manager or as somebody who wants to move forward, then you're going to struggle with retention and with quality of output from your staff if they're not being looked after. Implementing positive action innovatives. So again, there's a few examples there: networking, mentoring, work shadowing. I think all of these are so important within the workplace to offer. We touched on mentoring in the previous talk. I am going to expand on it a little bit more later on. But I feel that mentoring is an area that is so important. If you don't have a role model to work towards, sometimes it can be so much more difficult to see where that end line is, where your goals are. And sometimes it's quite difficult to understand yourself how to get to that point that you want to get to. So I believe that having a mentor can really support you. And it doesn't have to be just the one mentor, nor does it have to be specifically a professional mentor. It could be a personal mentor to help you with personal issues, to develop yourself better. It could be professional to help you develop yourself from a professional side of things. All of these things attribute to you becoming the best person that you can be. And the better the person that you are, and the better that you contribute, then the higher you're gonna get yourself and develop yourself and get yourself into that leadership role that you're aspiring to be, or perhaps you are already a leader, but you're looking to take that next step in your leadership. So how can we promote leadership for ethnic minorities in the community? So I've popped a few examples here of some things that I've come up with, but I am going to open this up to a little bit of a discussion actually in a minute. But I've mentioned here some examples. So promotion and exposure of role models in leadership. So I think it's really important to have exposure of people who you can look up to and people who you can relate to, whether that be a personal relate or a professional relate, I think it always helps you to develop and see a realistic pathway if you have role models that you can see and aspire to work towards and understand how they got to where they got to. I think having them in a mentorship role as well is highly valuable. But also things like promotions such as posters around the workplace, posters or presentations, interviews perhaps from those role models to hear about their struggles. You know, where did they start? How did they get from where they were to how they are now? These are all really valuable pieces of information that are not shared enough. Leadership development programs, this is a huge one. So I think that we're seeing more and more development programs come up out of the surface recently. So I know that we have one at Staffordshire University and an MSc in entrepreneurship, but we're also seeing leadership development programs specifically designed, let's say, for example, for ethnic minorities or for women in business or for minorities in STEM, for example. So I think it's really important that we promote these more and that we take advantage of these programs more. Quite often, some of these programs are free and we're not taking advantage of them as much as we should do. And I'm not sure if that's because of lack of exposure of them or whether people just don't know about them in general. But I do feel that we should take more and more advantage of these programs to help develop ourselves and help us become, much better within our leadership skills and help us be the best that we can be within our leadership. Networking opportunities and events to raise profiles. So again, this is an absolutely fantastic example. This talk today, this conference, allowing people to get together, have a chat about, how raising each other's profiles here today, networking, learning about what everybody can offer to support one another. Networking is such a hugely beneficial tool to use, and it's so underused. It's so important that we utilize networking as much as possible, whether that be online on LinkedIn, within chat forums, or whether that be physically going to networking events. There's so many topics that we can go and attend and learn, whether that be from leadership, upskilling, whether that be meeting people to learn about alternative options within your career, how you can expand if you're struggling to do so currently. There's so many different opportunities that you can explore within networking and events. To work more with companies who promote inclusion. So one really good example I can give here is Creative Access, a company that I work quite closely with. And they are specifically designed to support people who either haven't had the best start in life or who are from an ethnic background or female or any of these minority groups. They are specifically designed to support people within those minorities to help them to get the best out of their work, help them get the best exposure for themselves to companies. They work with companies such as like the BBC, ITV, for example, and many, many more. And they do the work in exposing you to showcase what you bring to the table. So that's really, really helpful and supportive. And I know there's so many more companies out there who are doing this now. So I think, working more and more with those companies, collaborating with them and promoting them so that they can promote inclusion more and more. And developing mentoring schemes and opportunities. So I know there's different types of mentoring, like I said. So there's personal mentoring. If you're a student, then there's also student level mentoring that's available to yourselves, but also professional mentoring. It's so important to always utilize mentoring, whether you're at the very start of your career right now, or whether you are doing the best that you have done so far and you're doing amazing things, you're in a leadership role. It's never too late to be having a mentor and to learn from other people. It's so powerful. And I can't recommend mentoring enough for that reason. Does anybody else have any other suggestions of things that they have either experienced or that they feel would be beneficial to support ethnic minorities in the community? I can't see the chat, so if anybody pops anything in the chat, please feel free to shout it out.
I think utilizing social media to kind of promote all these opportunities and the fact and raising awareness of the fact that these are there and that you can be in these positions. I think that would be a really, really good way to start and get people thinking and knowing about these positions.
I totally agree, 100%. There's so much power within social media now, isn't there? So I think absolutely utilizing those different platforms, gaining that maximum exposure. Really good point. Thank you. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Oh, do we have a shout out there?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it is also important that we put ourselves forward as ethnic minority. Putting yourself forward would let people see you that this is what you can do, and yeah, that means you have the value you can offer, and you'll be given the opportunity to come into the room, come and show us what you know how to do, come and tell us what you want to do. So it is important that we also try to put ourselves forward as
Yeah.
a minority in this region.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Really, really good point there. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. I think, like I said as well, just like Olayemi said, being visible and being on social media. I think as well, when we need to start inspiring and also you say you have a list of organization as well. Maybe either create a forum so we can be heard in the community because there's another case of you being on social media but not impacting in the community itself as well. So you may be on social media impacting outwardly, but the inside community are not feeling it to get inspired as well. And I think for me, for example, there are two ideas that came to me when we are celebrating Black History Month. If we can start posting pictures of people that are doing great works out there, even on the bus, on the marketplace, so they are recognizing that some people are doing little works. And I think that is how we can get noticed more in the community. So Staffordshire University are just putting as well posters of students or lecturers that are impacting as well. And also different community or companies as well are shouting out. And I think youths can see the visibility, not even in school alone, but they can see the visibility when they go shopping. Oh, this is a Black person doing this. This is a Asian person. They can get notified more and they can move away from being social media and can relate easily in their community going forward. I think that will inspire people in our community so they can actually point fingers. Oh yeah, I saw you on the post. I saw you, and that can inspire them going forward. And that can start breaking barriers as well because they are seeing the visibility, not only on social media, but within our community going forward.
Amazing. Yeah, 100% agree with that. And it's so nice to see that there's so much more promotion now as well. Like you mentioned with Staffordshire University, we've started doing posters and pop-ups, celebrating people from where they've gone, from where they are now, and how they've got to where they are. And I think, like you mentioned, it's so nice to be able to see yourself in others. And it really does motivate you to think, actually, I can do this. If they can do it, so can I, because I see myself in them. And I think that's so important. So yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm not able to turn on my video. I apologize. I think the thing to add is the current global wave around sustainability that requires companies to adhere to certain principles around the workplace, ESG, environmental, social, and governance, ethics. The social aspects of it, I think, relates to what you have been speaking about, Holly,
Yeah.
issues around diversity and inclusion. So if we look out for corporate organizations that are sustainability conscious, deliberately embed those into their strategy and operations. It's also a great way to, open the space for minorities, to get into the right places. If such companies, non-profits, are identified, spotlighted and celebrated, I think it also expands this space. Just thought to add that, and great work, great talk that you have provided. Thank you for that knowledge sharing.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the feedback. And yeah, absolutely 100% agree there. I think definitely spotlighting those companies is so important and so valuable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly. So someone did ask a question, and they asked, what's one or two things that would make a candidate of obviously an ethnic minority background stand out for employability for leadership positions?
Such a good question. So whoever popped that in, well done. Great question. 1 or 2 points. I think, to be honest, I think it's really important that you do just be yourself and that you do believe in yourself. I think so many people that I speak to on a daily basis don't believe in themselves enough. And I think that has an impact on the way that they perform, and that has an impact on the way that they bring themselves to an interview or bring themselves to an application. And I think building up on that confidence, like I said, mentoring is a great way. If you can have any tutoring, any shadowing, I offer mock interviews, for example. So that's one area that I know can boost and build that confidence. So I do feel that being confident within yourself and believing in the work that you carry out is valuable, is a huge catalyst to your success. And I think that should not be underestimated whatsoever. The skills that you will bring to a company, as I mentioned, different backgrounds will be able to bring different skills, different viewpoints, and that is so valuable within a company. So please don't underestimate that for a second. I think it's extremely valuable, and that's what you should be selling to a company. That amazing skills and those amazing traits and those fantastic ideas that you can bring to the table. 100%.